Yeah, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kenji, and as I'm sure you guys may have known, I did biomed as well before actually starting medicine. Um, what else could I say about me? Yeah, so I'm 24 years old. I was born in Kenya, and a lot of people kind of get surprised whenever I say, especially when I'm in and actually start speaking the language. But yeah, so I was actually born and bred in Kenya. I went to school there as well. I kind of did a bit of school in the UK as well, but I was mostly brought up in Kenya. And in a family, yeah, I was brought up in a family of people who didn't actually go to university. So none of my parents went to university. No one in my kind of entire family went to university. So I was kind of first to go to university, and also kind of the first to get into medicine as well. And the reason why I say that is because maybe there's some people, some of you guys who might be listening to me, they may come from a background like me, which is like not known for getting into universities and stuff like that as well. So yeah, so I kind of always wanted to do research. I don't know if you guys have heard of Dexter's Laboratory. Aaron, have you heard of that? The cartoon on like
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the biggest thing for me, and the biggest source of inspiration to get into the fields of research and science as well. And then it wasn't until I was around maybe like 13, 14 years old that my mom actually, it's her idea, and she mentioned that actually if you do medicine, you can actually do research as well, and also like help patients. And that's kind of what started like sparking my interest into getting into medicine. And yeah, that's a bit about me. And also I make YouTube videos as well. So alongside medicine, I also make YouTube videos about my life as a medical student, and also just to kind of like level the playing field and try to put out as much information as possible, especially for people who kind of come from a background like me, which is not having parents who are doctors and not having people that can necessarily help you get into medical school. So that's kind of what inspired me to start my channel. So yeah, in regards to how I got here, and I'm into my fourth year of medical school now. In regards to kind of how I got here, as I mentioned, I was brought up in Kenya, and then when I turned 14, mom actually just randomly decided that we'll come to the UK, which ended up being a good decision in the long run. But when I was 14 years old, I definitely wasn't too happy about it, because I was, I was in year 10, so I was in the middle of my GCSEs, or the equivalent in Kenya. And I actually went to an American school in Kenya. So things were a bit different. The schooling was a bit different. The system was American system, so it was a bit different. And there's also a few subjects that I didn't actually do, and that you guys do in the UK. So I was 14 years old, and we moved to the UK, and it was around, I think I was in year 10, halfway through my GCSEs. And when I initially came to the UK, it was a bit difficult for me, particularly in my education, because I actually missed the year 10 exams for GCSEs. So I essentially had to sit all of my exams in year 11, like all at once, which was a bit, it was quite difficult, because, instead of having it all in 2 years, I had it all in 1 year. But I ended up doing like relatively okay. I think I got 2 A stars, a couple of A's, and a couple of B's as well. So I didn't do terrible, but I didn't necessarily like the grades I wanted to. But that was okay. Moving on from GCSEs, I then went on to do my A levels, as I'm sure all of you guys did as well. And I started my A levels, and at that time, I was still kind of playing a bit of a catch-up game, because that was only maybe a year and a half after I'd come to the country for the first, after I started my GCSEs for the first time. So I was still kind of playing a bit of a catch-up game in A levels. But A levels started off really well. I think young Kenji was, I was 16, 17. And then back in my year in college, I don't know if you guys have had that as well, but during my college years, we had AS in our first year, and we also had A level in our second year. Aaron, did you have that as well, you guys?
Yeah.
Cool. So I think it was after, it must be like first and second years now. Oh, sorry, first years, and maybe the years early on that had a different. So I had my AS year first, and I think I got AAB in my AS year, and because of that, I got predicted A star AB for my A levels, and because of having a B prediction in chemistry, I wasn't actually able to apply to medical school, which was really, really sad, really, really kind of downhearting, because for a couple of years now it was my dream to get into medical school, and getting those predictions and like basically being told by everyone there's no chance of ever doing medicine again was really, really hard to kind of absorb. So I think after that point, I reached the point where I was like, I really don't care what I want to do in university. I just wanted to apply, and we'll just see how things go. So I actually applied for biology, I sent off my application to 5 universities for biology. I really didn't care what I wanted to do. I was just a bit upset about not getting to medical school. So I set my application for biology. And then a couple of weeks later, I kind of got over the initial trauma of not being able to apply to school. And I actually found biomed. So I guess I didn't actually hear about biomed. It's really, really surprising, but I didn't do enough research to know about biomed. So a couple of weeks later, I kind of ran to my computer and I was like, oh my God, biomed is something I want to. It seems a lot more applicable to me, given the fact that I wanted to do medicine before, and biomed has a lot more, of a medical background and a lot of medical.
For sure.
So went on to my UCAS application and I emailed all of my universities and I was like, oh my God, I made a huge mistake. I transfer me to biomed. And luckily, 4 out of the 5 universities I applied to were happy to transfer me. So I got onto biomed and starting off my first year. I kind of had medicine in the back of my mind. I wasn't entirely sure just because I didn't think I could do it. But so I went to University of Birmingham for my undergrad, and being at the University of Birmingham meant that I don't know how it is for you guys, but biomed is actually taught in medical school. Is it the same for you guys, Aaron? Or do you have separate?
So MMU doesn't have a medical school. So this was the sole reason for setting up this society was there was not enough support and guidance out there. So hence why I speak to you guys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So in Birmingham it's a bit different. So biomed is actually based at medical school. And kind of being in a medical school building and playing football with loads of medics. I kind of jumped into the surrounding of being surrounded by medics. Even though I didn't get to medicine, a lot of my friends ended up being medics. And I think it was hanging out with them and being based at a medical school that really kind of made me a lot more inspired and kind of reignited my inspiration to want to do medicine again. So first year I kind of turned my switch back on and I worked really, really hard. And I think I got 69% my first year, so I was 1% off at first, and which was really, really good. I was really happy with. And then I started second year at biomed, and second year biomed they had this thing in Birmingham called the guaranteed interview scheme, where if you're doing biomed, they had 5 places available for people to get directly onto the interviews, so kind of bypassing everyone else who was applying, not having to do the UCAS, not having to to do anything, just meet a certain criteria. So I think there was a few things really being involved in university, getting certain grades in certain modules, and it was quite competitive because pretty much half of my year wanted to do medicine. But I was really, really lucky, and somehow I managed to get that guaranteed interview my second year. So it kind of again reignited my passion for getting into medical school, because I knew that at the back of my head I at least had one guaranteed interview, because I managed to get onto that program thing. So I had one guaranteed interview, and then coming towards the end of second year I got ready to make my application to medicine. So I did I did UK CAT, I wrote my first statement, all of those things, and I actually made my application. I applied to what was it? King's for the undergrad program. I obviously had the guaranteed interview at the graduate program at Birmingham. I applied to Queen Mary's, Barts and Queen Mary's, and also I think it was Manchester. And then so started sending off my application. I think it took about a month for me to get a few replies, and I got rejected straight away before interview from Manchester and also for that business idea like later down the line. I think it was more just like a kind of a comforting thing for myself. To my absolute surprise, I got invited for Interview Kings, which was in 5 days' time. No, it was in 9 days' time. So essentially, I was just so kind of happy, and like I can't even describe to you guys how happy I was at that I had a first class prediction. My A levels were met the requirements. It was just my UCAT that wasn't as strong, so that's why I made the call to apply for 3 undergrad, 1 grad. So it really is down to your own kind of discretion, your own opinion to balance, to think whether or not the odds are in your favor. But I think if you have a really strong application, then by all means maybe put your applications more so in the grad program. But if you are someone middle, maybe balance it out and have 2 grads, 2 undergrads. And again, if you're someone like me who didn't have the strongest UK CAT score, then maybe put more grad than undergrad than you would grad.